Well, here we are. It's April 2016, and it's the latest update on Jim's Fish Room, which is really a misnomer because these tanks are in livable spaces, not what I often envy, somebody's basement with unlimited space and plumbing and so forth that make it really easy to change water, things of that nature. This is in our living room, and it's part of our decor, and always amazement for people who come to visit. And so just to share what's been going on, it's amazing to me as I go back and look at movies that I've made of earlier times with the tanks, how different they are from one year to the next, from one season to the next, really. And so it's kind of amazing to go back and revisit some of those earlier situations. You're looking here at what I call the bow tank because it is a curved front tank, and so anytime you see Jim's bow tank, that's what I'm talking about here. And and it really is interesting, and I'd love to take the time to do a study of what affects the plant growth. We're missing, for example, some prior beautiful Madagascar lace plants, which in two different tanks over the past month have just melted into nothing. And so we have a tank here which has lost a number of fish in the past month, springtime, which seems to be fairly common. Instead of what you see is the dominating angelfish, and there are 10 angelfish in this particular tank. Gathered over time, just because when we go fishing, whether my wife and I go fishing or Ray and I go fishing, we can't resist the beautiful angels that are out there at various times, and some of them have grown into nice sizes, as you can see here. And you can see the variety from a full black angel up in the left-hand corner here. There he is. To that striped one right in front. And look at the fins on these fish. Absolutely gorgeous. Some younger than others. We tend to buy these when they're fairly young and less expensive. And then have even more satisfaction as they grow out and become like you're looking at here. There's the largest ones, and then we have a calico one which is equally large. And talking about plants, that little floating piece of plant there is what's left of the water sprite that at one point in time looked so beautiful and then seems to fall apart and becomes floaters, and I tend to have to get rid of it just because of the size of it. Recently I've shared what's been going on with some neons on my Facebook and YouTube accounts, and so we have a fairly decent school of about 20 neons here with at least one cardinal, and it just so feels so special to be able to afford to have a school like this. There's a betta, one that's survived quite a bit now. I actually had two bettas in this tank, contrary to popular belief. The other one eventually did die, but they sort of cohabitated here. And this one is a beautiful blue one. It's really frustrating when you only have 3 tanks as I have, and you go into some of these fish stores and they have a sale going on for some bettas at $2.99 or whatever, and you just can't afford the space to keep them, even though I'd love to buy them. Beautiful sword plants are doing well as the banana plant here. And the banana plant in both this tank and the other tank I'll show you shortly have really thrived well and grown out some huge leaves. A lot of other tetras hidden in the background here. They tend to stay down in the growth. I like the growth. And just recently cleaned off some of that structure in the back that gets so covered with algae, even though I turn the lights off for several hours each day. And there was two plecostomi, I don't know, two plecos in here, and they just couldn't keep up with it. Either that or they didn't want to keep up with it. And so that's been kind of frustrating. They haven't done their job. So I had to spend some time cleaning that. And that means taking out a very large white structure there and going into the sink and really scrubbing it down hard. With a bad leg of recent, that's been a pain, but I had a knee replacement a year ago and was very pleasantly surprised recently to be able to do that cleaning without pain to the legs. And there you can see the neons schooling very nicely back and forth. There you also see one of the black mollies that I just put up into this tank. Got 3 black mollies in here right now. All are progeny of an original beautiful big pair that we had, and probably have about 20 right now in the office tank, which is where my breeding tank is. And it's got some swordtail babies as well as some black molly babies. And so I'm slowly bringing them out here. I had some out here, and then all of a sudden they didn't do so well, and I lost most of them over a very short period of time. So I'm trying to introduce them back now as this tank has been cleaned out. And as you see, the real feature now are the angels and the neons. Neons haven't been something that lasted very long for me, but more recently they seem to be doing well. Had some good sales in local fish stores, and so I've been able to grow into a nice school here. I don't think you're going to get to see my upside down catfish, which is huge, and he hides out back in that, under that structure upside down. And if I put food in there, it'll cloud up the water quickly, and he'll come out for that. So meanwhile, you're just going to be settled with the iridescence of the neons that I'm so pleased with right now. A couple black neons there, some rasbora, some white cloud, some serpe, and a couple red black wag platies. You see one going right past there now. And so that's the current status of what I call the bow tank. And I've got the light sort of sitting in the forward right now, so it highlights the front there. And you can see in the lower right hand corner one of the larger male black mollies. Right past that, there we go. Oh, nice against the green of the leaves, huh? Well, we have one major pair that are really large black mollies that carried forward the trait of the original parents that look so beautiful. They're just huge and very generous in giving us many babies, which have thrived and grown up in the office tank which you've seen before. So we'll close out on this tank right now, just focusing a little bit more on the 10 angels that are in this particular tank, and they're doing very well now for many months. And like I said, some growing up faster than others, and some like these 2 small black angels are one of our most recent additions. And so you can see how small they are compared to the other ones. And they hopefully will eventually grow as big as that big black one I showed you just before. Now over here we have what I call the corner tank. It's a 5-sided tank, pentagonal, And right in the middle there you see two black mollies, a pair of black mollies that I just brought out. And in the background you can see, again, a smaller school of neons, just 10 here. This tank really went south on me about a month ago. And over the course of about 3 weeks, lost everything in here except for 11 catfish, Cory types, and one pleco, a large pleco. And no matter what I did, I finally thought it was clean enough and clear enough to introduce a school of tiger barbs, small tiger barbs. And they lasted about 5 days, and I moved into another tank and they all just died. So I have no idea what that problem was, but this has now been acclimated a little bit with some feeder fish, which for $2 I could get enough fish put in here, and just if they died I wouldn't cry too much. And so I've got 5 small goldfish, as you see right there, and 5 what I think they call rosies. They're like minnows, and they thrived for a week or two. And I said, all right, time to start introducing some fish. And so I brought in those neons, and it's amazing the prices on these fish these days in the stores. We've got about 5 major stores in the driving area that Ray and I go find fish at, and the pricing on neons and cardinals has been about $2.99 a piece, which is ridiculous. And lo and behold, we caught some on sale for $2.49 and said, well, let's get a couple. And then we found them on sale at PetSmart for $1.24. And that allowed me to get a couple batches of 10 that you see, some of which in this particular tank. And they seem to be doing very well right now, and so I'm very pleased to have schools of neons. And the more I looked at this tank sitting here, just with those feeder fish, the more I was looking for some contrast to the very deep colors of the Java fern you see in the background here. Again, we have a very large banana plant that has really thrived well. Look at the size of those leaves. And then the other thing that's really thrived, no matter what this particular tank has been doing, is this plant, which I don't know a name for it. But you can see it goes all the way up what is almost a yardstick deep on this tank, with those beautiful green leaves that grow so big they actually float on the surface. And so there's something about the water that favors different types of plants over time. So for example, in the office tank, there's some duckweed right now that's just starting to come back. And eventually that'll cover the surface of that 30-gallon tank. And I'll put it out here, and I had fish here before that would eat that. So it never really thrived in these other tanks. But that duckweed then eventually will disappear. None at all. And then 3 or 4 or 5 months later, all of a sudden there's a couple pieces, and they start multiplying and they start doing very well. And so this tank is doing nicely right now, and slowly I'm building back up with some smaller fish. And that's why I decided to try the black molly back in here. You can see the young male coming up and down. And they really have a beautiful shape to them. These are all homebred. And again, there's the catfish that survived whatever the problem was. And it wasn't a water change, because it only affected this one tank, even though I changed water in all the tanks at the same time. So I don't think it was, something in the tap water. And again, for some reason or other, the catfish here did fine, and yet in the boat tank recently, I lost every one of those catfish. And the other fish did fine. Makes no sense at all. And so there's the one pair of black mollies. We'll see how they make out. And then they're in the office tank, as you have seen, there's about 20 more, well now there's about 15, that are breeding nicely and producing babies that hopefully will survive and grow up in that tank they grow out nicely, and then I move them out to these tanks when I can. The nice thing about having a fish room, as it were, in the living room is this is where our main living space is, except for the office where I work most of the day. And I can sit and really enjoy these fish even while we're watching TV, which is on the other side of this room, and get the enjoyment out of it. And like I said, anytime we have visitors, they always are taken back by the beauty of large, well-populated fish tanks with some colorful fish. And it's always been something of interest when somebody comes to visit. A lot of Java fern here growing against some structure in the back, as you can see. And I'm hoping that these black mollies will do well here. There's nothing in there that's of any real size, so that young female can in fact have babies, and those babies will be safe here. Ray pointed out to me one time when they started having some babies in that boat tank, the issue there was we have a betta, and he said, now betta is a hunter. It will go looking for baby fish in the plants and stuff like that. The angels are opportunists. If they find something, they'll eat it, but they don't go hunting for it like the betta does. And so this tank here has not been a tank that has seen any real growth of babies. It always had a betta and had larger fish in it. The bow tank hasn't been a breeder either, so the breeding has all been done in the office tank. Here in the office, we have a hex tank, 6-sided tank, that has some plastic plants in it. It just introduced the other day to protect the young, because there wasn't enough live plants to really do it, despite that Java fern you see in the background. They were doing okay, but I didn't want to take any chances, since all of a sudden there were baby black mollies all over the place, including a couple red swordtail babies. So we've got a pair of female swordtails here that have really grown up nicely, and a male swordtail right there. I think we used to call him brick red. They probably have some other fancy name for them now. But he has been doing real fine by these two females, and they've grown up nicely, as you may get to see as she comes across down the bottom here. Grown up nicely, and both females are heavy, and I've seen a couple babies in here just recently, so they seem to be doing well. And this is originally was mainly the black molly tank, but more recently now I have a school of 10 neons and 10 cardinals in here. And that's really where it got started. When I bought the cardinals, I thought they were too small for the fish that were to become fish food in the bow tank. So I put them in here to grow them out a little bit. And then I realized I'd have a hell of a time catching them to get them out of here to put them over in that tank. So the next time I bought some neons, I put the neons in the bow tank. And then with the most recent sale at $1.24, I couldn't resist. I bought 10 more neons and added them to the cardinals in this tank. So as you look at them, you're going to see two different types if you're familiar with the coloration that you would see in neons versus the fuller red-bodied cardinals. And you also see the mollies here. There's one huge male, and most of the females here are decent size, but they're not as large as that one particular mother that used to be here. There's the big male, and he is gorgeous. And these are all grown from original ones that were born here. And so there's about a dozen left in here, and like I say, I'm hoping that they'll do well in those other two tanks that I just moved them out into tonight. They're a beautiful fish. I love black mollies. Never had good luck with them. And this is the first time that I've really been successful, because we've had these black mollies now, probably about 9 months. And the original pair just bred beautifully, and given away some to both my sister Mag and Ray for their tanks. And they haven't done quite as well there as these have here. And so you can certainly see the types of fish I'm talking about. There's a female guppy there that's fading. They do well for a while, and then they just die off. And then up in the plastic floating plants I have here, for example, I don't know if you're going to get to see some babies or not, but up in that floating plant, there's a place where babies can get to that these big ones can't get in. And so there's plenty of safety for them. And I'm going to say there's easily 20 to 30 babies all throughout the greenery here. And so they're doing well. And I keep these pretty well fed. This tank gets fed about 3 times a day. That's a lot. But I give them just a little bit of food, keep them fed well so that they don't really go after the babies as they might if they were hungry. A couple catfish in here, same type of catfish as in the other tank. They just thrive. There's one of them just went past here. I don't know if you're going to see him or not. There's about 3 of those catfish, and there's a small pleco. I had a big pleco in here. He was doing a beautiful job of keeping the glass clean, because this does have one side of the tank actually has an open window area for sunshine, and it tends to get some algae on it. Well, the pleco really is doing a good job. I didn't have to clean it at all myself in the last 6 months. And so this tank, for some reason or other, has not had a problem, and that big pleco really kept the fixtures that you see in the background here as clean as they are. I've not had to clean them. But then it got just too big. I said, I got to get them out of here. I put them in the bow tank and moved in a new baby one here, a young pleco. And he's always working hard, so I'm very pleased with that. You get some idea of the mixture here. A couple male guppies, and every once in a while when the females go on sale, I get a couple of them, and like I say, surprisingly, they don't do that particularly well here. And this had a beautiful Madagascar lace plant that lasted about a month and a half, and then all at once the leaves just turned and melted, and that's where the babies started thriving down in the leaves that were melting. There's that catfish, one of the catfish I was telling you about. And like I say, there's about 2 more of them. And so yeah, those are plastic plants down there, giving the babies free run of the lower end of the tank without any concern for bigger fish. And this is, as I said, the office tank, and I have my office here with my computer and the library and everything else, and it's just so relaxing to be able to turn and look at them and put my glasses on so I can see them up close and see how they're doing. And right now, after a drought of no real babies for a while, all of a sudden we've got at least 20 babies in here, and like I said, some of them are that red sword. So we shall see how that goes out. We also have a couple, I'm not sure quite what they call them. They're lyre tail mollies. Let's see if I can capture one for you. And they're half yellow. Here's one up here. Half yellow with a black lyre tail on it. And I think I've seen a baby or 2 that looks like it might be a prodigy of that couple that are in here. He's not going to show himself too well. He's down here in the plants, that yellow-faced black lyre tail right down in the corner here. Here we go. And then you can see the swordtail, the female swordtail, trying to get some privacy, probably to lay some babies. And here comes that other female. The two females are beautiful, and the male has grown up very nicely. And for the longest while, I couldn't find swordtails. Don't know why. And then just recently, and I do really enjoy swordtails, so I made sure I got that. They were selling them as a threefer. 2 females, 1 male, and couldn't resist. Alright, so with that, you've seen all 3 tanks. And like I say, as much as I'm envious of people who have a basement full of tanks, like my friend Ray does. He's got 22 tanks in his basement. You've seen that in the raised fish room updates. And we're going fishing again this Thursday because there's a big sale of tetras and so forth, 5 for $1, that we'll take advantage of. And I wish I had more tanks, but at the same time, I really like having the tanks where I'm working in this office and in the living room where we spend a lot of time also. So it's kind of nice to have that kind of flexibility and also to be able to show it off. Ray's downstairs tanks are down a steep set of stairs, and I have to say that over the years it's gotten harder to go down those very narrow steps. Always do, but if I had to go up and down every day to do that to feed the fish, it would be more painful than just what these knees have been doing as time went on. And so it's our update for April 2016. Jim signing off here, hoping that your own fishing adventures are doing well. Always tough in the change of seasons here.